Welcome to another episode of Business with Passion. Each show features guests who have transformed their long-term passion into a successful business. I'm your host, J. Hamilton Roth. My marketing strategy business grew from my love of talking with passionate business owners. In this series, I share their passion with you. So if you're looking for inspiration to enhance your business passion, keep watching.
As a builder, my long-term passion is to be constructing in a way that doesn't do environmental damage. That's fundamental. I want to, as a builder, be actively engaged in the design and development of projects that look to lessen environmental impacts comprehensively and keeps providing a lasting relationship with that site that enhances the lives of the people there for years to come. I was around building my whole life. My father, as a doctor, he let off his steam on the weekends by doing projects at home. And so we had a wood shop, we did all sorts of projects in the garden, and built furniture, did renovation work on our house, all of those kinds of things. I went away to college and I had really, a focused academic life, and I didn't really do any building or prepare myself for building. I did environmental studies and I was up in the woods. I think that one of the things that has always been a part of my background is the connection with the natural world, and I had always envisioned that I'd be involved in the environment in some way. A Japanese master craftsman that I met at a Japanese cultural festival at Stanford University. And Makoto Imai became a very powerful influence for a number of years. In all of the opportunities we had to work with him and to train with him, he profoundly influenced us with the level of quality that was possible, with some very specific layout methods, the example of absolute precision and commitment, and a deep kind of spiritual motivation to do absolutely the best he could. I think in a lot of respects, I found my way stage after stage as a builder, and often through periods in which I wasn't really certain that I was going to produce a future as a builder at all. Sometimes that would be just simply the complexity of all the different elements that are being managed. You're trying to do self-promotion, you're trying to do the best job of specifying a project that there's no information on, and you need to give a fixed price, and so you need to be able to convey, this is what I'm promising to do somehow. And as the project complexity is greater and greater, they're longer, the budgets are higher, the risk is a lot greater, and the weight on your shoulders gets more and more, and the numbers of nights you might be up thinking about how tomorrow or the rest of the week is going to go gets to be greater too. So I think that there have been stages along the way in which the weight of all that really caused me to go, is this really what I want to be doing? And am I succeeding here? And there were times when I wasn't succeeding. I would underbid a project because I wanted to do the particular work, and it was way more effort than I'd imagined, and so you're there working hour after hour, plus your team trying to complete out, and it gets pretty thankless like that. I really realized that my true and deep and abiding passion is to do the construction process with the least lingering damage for the environment. And so that has really lit my way for many years now. I think one of the really big influences in my past is that I grew up in Pasadena, California, and Pasadena is really noted for really high quality architecture and quite varied architectural traditions as well. It's got the largest concentration of green and green projects of anywhere I can think of anyway. Charles and Henry Green were turn of the century architects who delivered really, really finely crafted, actually just exquisitely crafted woodwork in the complete construction package of their projects. Everything from metals work was done at a very fine craft level, tile work. Really, the level of attention to detail is beyond what anyone's used to seeing in construction. You might go to a traditional Japanese style home in Japan and you'd see this kind of thing, and you'd see it widespread, but not in the United States, generally speaking. So these homes really inspired me, and the level of quality and attention to detail that's a part of them is really noteworthy. And under the inspiration of Makoto Imai and the hand tool training that we received in traditional Japanese woodworking, working with fine Japanese smoothing planes and the whole background process of honing yourself while you hone the blade to a very, very refined edge. That whole process is kind of it's a synthesis. It's the preparation itself, and it's the act of preparing for the work. Well, over the years, we've done projects that have ranged from commercial build-outs in San Francisco, at Pier 39 and Union Square, and a variety of other locations in the city, built for many years throughout Marin County, building new homes and increasingly complex hillside sites. But really what we've had the opportunity to do increasingly is homes that really are green through and through, that involved integrated project planning that brings multiple discourses together. You've got the biologist and the civil engineer and the landscape architect all looking after a certain part of the equation. They're all cross-complementing the work that's being done with the architecture and engineering teams. And the builder's voice finds a place at the table in that conversation to look at constructability, look at construction sequences, and look at sort of optimizing the systems from this sort of practical view that a builder necessarily gets from being in the field all the time. So we've had the opportunity to do homes that are fundamentally passive solar designed. They employ natural ventilation strategies. They employ thermal mass as a primary characteristic for moderating the temperature changes in the interior. Classically, high-performance glazing is a part of these buildings. Sometimes sort of more advanced ventilation strategies like a heat recovery ventilation system that lets you keep fresh air coming into a building without sacrificing the heat that you're keeping in winter or the cool temperature that you want in summer. Green building really is a constellation of strategies that align the lowest environmental impact that a given building can pull off. So essentially, site, water, materials, energy, and indoor environmental quality issues are all taken into account. So really you're looking at the complete understanding of all of the impacts associated with the transportation of both you to and from your building day after day. So where it is really matters. If you're way out in the hills on a green field that's never been developed, that may be a really nice thing. But if it sends you into a 45-minute drive when a 10-minute drive from another site would also be possible, you're footprinting a very, very big plume of emissions, and you know, you're degrading the environment through all that transportation. So, so site is key. The way you relate to the site when you're under construction and how you protect it and how much is impacted, all of that's in focus in green building. In water, there are sort of integrated site and water strategies where rainwater harvesting, respecting and working with natural drainage patterns, environmentally appropriate planting, and microclimating. So on the shade side of the building, you're going to have certain planting opportunities. On the sunny side, you actually want to provide yourself with the opportunity to benefit by the landscape by maybe shading those hot late summer afternoons where those west-facing windows with a great view really need to be shaded in summer. The first move is demand reduction. Way before you decide you're going to put on a solar PV system, you want to make sure that it's right size. And most buildings that we see around us these days use so much more energy than we can possibly afford out in the future. If those buildings had been initially done with right siting, a careful assessment of their envelope so that they were really energy efficient just from the insulation standpoint, we would be not in the energy issues that we are today. So critical for our future are buildings which are climate appropriate in their design. And so passive solar is the term that's typically used for that, though the overall idea really employs natural ventilation strategies. It employs thermal mass and the placement of thermal mass. These kinds of buildings typically are way, way less expensive to own and operate. And if durability concerns are taken into account in the design and construction linked with this whole constellation of passive solar design strategies, you're really going to take out the the long-term operations and maintenance costs really in ways that most people don't even think about. So these days we've got materials which are not only energy efficient in their manufacture process, but are designed to have far greater longevity. So rather than placing wood materials on the sunny south side of a house, which typically sort of bakes all the paint off and warps and it very, very intensively weathers the wood, we have cement fiber products in the marketplace these days like Hardy Plank or Hardy Panel or cement fiber products of all types, which are way more able to hold up to the kind of weathering effects of sunlight and water, and they need far less painting because they don't go through that expansion contraction. So these kinds of innovations are coming forward in green building, and they have really, really hopeful outcomes for all of us, because they'll, a building material like that will take down the complete cycle of sanding and prep and painting year after year after year for many years. You'll paint probably a third as often, maybe even less than that. So between ways in which these kinds of buildings are managing energy, managing water, and looking after the long-term kind of durability issues of a building, they're also taking place in a context in which we've got a huge society-wide increase in asthma and chemical sensitivity and allergies. And green building takes on that whole constellation of issues and calls that indoor environmental quality. We take care of not having materials that have any possibility for emitting noxious chemicals of any kind, and then really is kind of a bigger view that in their production cycle aren't leaving toxic waste in the environment. Increasingly in the marketplace, what we're finding is green at no additional cost. In fact, we pretty consistently deliver a whole variety of green strategies in buildings that we do, for which there's no additional cost at all. For the most sophisticated green buildings in the construction marketplace, LEED Platinum, LEED Gold projects, they're seeing a 4 to 6% premium for those buildings. So, not much. We hear all the time about, oh, somebody did this green building and geez, it was, $800 a square foot, Not all of that is because it's green. Some of that's because they're buying $45 a square foot tile that has, nothing to do with whether it's green or not. It just is an aesthetic collection. So really, I think that what we're really finding in the marketplace is green building was a very unfamiliar and unusual set of strategies previously. And at this point, with billions of square feet in the certification process on the commercial side alone, and huge, huge adoption of the residential green building strategies that are out in the marketplace at this point, we're seeing most of these costs really come down and be quite competitive with what previously had been thought of as traditional construction. But really the fact is that green building has taken off so much in the marketplace that it would be really hard these days to find a project in which someone was not employing what they think of as green strategies. So, production builders in the East Bay have been delivering high-rated Greenpoint projects in developments that they're putting out for 100, 200, 300 homes. This has been going on in Colorado for many years. So yes, these homes typically are charged a slight premium, but for example, in Colorado, where the Energy Star program has been linked up with the energy efficient mortgage process, what you've got is you've got a guaranteed annual energy bill being a method by which a residential owner can actually look for a stretch mortgage from a mortgage supplier. So GMAC was very involved in that early on, and I think, in spite of the financial downturn right now, we're going to see more and more of that out in the future. One of the things about my background that has us uniquely able to deliver the kind of projects that people would be interested in looking for high-performance green building is that I've been involved in not only the National Green Building Organization, the U.S. Green Building Council, but I've really practically applied my understanding and my training in green building to community issues locally. I was the founding chair of the U.S. Green Building Council Redwood Empire Chapter and actively was involved in delivering educational programming for many years associated with that and continue to do that. And as an educated professional who recognized the processes that were involved in delivering green projects, I was active with the City of Cotati in not only generating a LEED certification for their Police and Community Services building, but also serving on their Planning Commission and currently on the Design Review Board there. I've been actively involved in supporting and setting in motion a sustainable building program there. The civic involvement that I've had has given me the opportunity to really look at the ways in which green building as a set of issues solve community planning issues as well. And I think it uniquely brings me to the planning process of project delivery with a set of skills that really kind of look out in that way. Educational programming has become a main theme in what I'm about. I was one of 3 founding faculty for the Sonoma State University Green Building Professional Certificate Program, which really grew out of the work that the chapter was doing with delivering programming at the Environmental Technology Institute there. So increasingly, the touch point with people in my life around green building has been most satisfying in that educational environment. What's happening with people in their own lives, waking up to the necessity of addressing these environmental issues through really proactive action. We've trained people who are, involved in every aspect of municipal planning and the building inspection department, people who are municipal engineers. We've been involved in training many people throughout all the different engineering discourses, civil and mechanical and structural engineering, people who are in career transition, who are very interested to be a part of the solution, are all heading towards a deep level of training. That's a 1-year program. We have currently embarked on a whole series of educational programs and started an educational company called Longview Education Associates. My colleague Pete Gang and I have been doing that now for the last year. And we're currently teaching at Autodesk in San Rafael, a 6-month program that has a very rigorous training process, a number of really highly skilled outside presenters, and a comprehensive overview of green building, as well as specific tactics and strategies. Well, I think for any of us, the real richness and the lasting passion of our lives is family. And for me, my children and my extended family are just really a key touchstone. I'm now a grandfather, and that's a wonderful thing. I just saw my grandson for several days over the weekend, and I just can't tell you what it means to be looking into the eyes of this little being who will inherit the world that our actions bestow. And it's significant, it's sobering, there's a kind of accountability there, and there's also just the deep love that motivates it too. I think one of the biggest things that has kept me on track in my life and in my business is, just resources in the way of people. And so mentors, other people who've had some parallel path in business. A lot of what I've learned in the School of Hard Knocks. I've been in a men's group for many years, and I was actually, until recently, the youngest man in that group. So I had men who were 10 and in some cases 15 years older than I in that group, and watched them face the challenges of their lives. And some of those people had really good information to give me. Some key moments of realignment took place through the agency of some of those men. And so I guess what I would say is that to not push your own ball up the hill and to seek the best input you can get wherever you can get it is key. And I think if money were no object, I would put my full life's energy into doing everything I could to create an active engagement by as many people as I possibly could engage in complete environmental restoration processes. That would start with fisheries, and it would start with everything that connects out of fisheries. It would connect into everything and all biotic systems that branch out from there. And I think that we're in an emergency pattern with respect to CO2 emissions reductions. And so that's an obvious concurrent thrust, but I would say critically, all ecological indicators are that we are in dire straits. We need really highly engaged action, and whatever I could possibly do to support that, I would set it in motion.
Thanks for watching this episode of Business with Passion. If you'd like more information about Bruce Hammond, other shows, or perhaps to be a guest on a future show, go online to tv.manygoodideas.com.